Welcome back, everyone. This chapter we are going to study about Government of India Act 1935, Roundtable Conference, Provincial and Federal System. Last chapter we have studied certain things which were associated with handing over the powers and functions to Indians. The Nehru Report as well as Jinnah's 14-point formula we have come across in the fourth chapter. This chapter we are studying the most important and a very crucial kind of thing which were associated with Indian national movement as well as the present constitution of India, that is Government of India Act 1935. Government of India Act 1935. This act is considered to be the most important contributions the Britishers has contributed to the entire Indians. This act can be called as the greatest gift the Britishers has gifted to all the Indians because this act has rectified the previous acts like Montague Chelmsford Act. It has also come across certain reports of Simon Commission as well as Nehru Committee report. So in that way, when the Britishers framed this 1935 Government of India Act, it has been a fruitful thing which they have contributed to the entire Indians. And even if we look into the present constitution of India, we can see that majority, that is maybe around 60% of the present constitution of India, has a connection with the Government of India Act of 1935. In that manner, this act really played a crucial role in framing the national movement as well as the administration of present India. Main features of Government of India Act 1935. First one is that it was the lengthiest written document of that times. Still now we all know that the present Indian constitution is the lengthiest constitution in the world. We got that basis from the Government of India Act 1935, which comprised of 321 sections and 13 schedules. So in such a manner, it was the most lengthiest constitutions of that times. Second thing, it suggested a federal government in India. Federalism is a system where there will be two kinds of administrative sections, like one at the central and one at the provincial level. And we still follow that pattern. We call it as the division of powers between the central and the state by the central list, state list, and concurrent list, which was there in the Government of India Act 1935 as central, provincial, and concurrent list. Third one, the establishment of federal executive. The act provided to have a Governor General for India, where he will be the supreme person in the state of India, and he will be appointed and will be under the crown, and he will be associated with the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers for a period of 5 years. So this was something which followed the British pattern, but the executive will represent the British government in India. Next is the federal legislature. The act ensured to have a legislative authority at the federal level with Council of States and the Federal Assembly, which we can relate with the present parliament where we have the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, like the Council of States and Council of People. So it was something which was highlighted in the 1935 Government of India Act. Next one, the federal court. The, the court facility was provided in the 1935 Government of India Act, which we can equate with the present Supreme Court of India. And according to the Act, it consists of Chief Justice and 6 judges appointed by the British Crown, and the judges will serve up to the age of 65, which has both original as well as appellate jurisdiction. So all these things are connected with the present conditions also, but we got a basis through the Government of India Act 1935. Next one, the Federal Railway Authority. Railway was the main mode of transportation of that time, and Railway Authority played a very crucial role where they established a special provisions to have an authority to look after the needs of the railway. Next one is the Reserve Bank of India, which we know that takes care about the needs of currency as well as the monetary aspects of the country. Next one, provincial autonomy. That means the provinces will be given with the autonomous status of legislative, administrative, and financial power by the constitution. Next one, change of office of British government. That means until then there established a different kinds of administrative system to look after the needs of India. By the act, they introduced a provincial autonomy as well as the Secretary of State, positions of Governor General, that kinds of changes were introduced. Next one, High Commissioner for India. There remained the office of High Commissioner uh, for India, that affair to represent the needs of aspects of India. Next one is the provision of civil service and reservation for the minorities and the downtrodden. This was something which the Act has ensured by providing the reservation facilities for the minority communities and to safeguard the rights of the downtrodden sections of the society. It also established the Union Public Service Commission to look after the needs of the governmental recruitments in India. Next one, the supremacy of the British Parliament. The Act once again reasserted the importance of British Parliament and also the influence of the British Parliament over the territory of India. So, as we discussed, there are many good things which has happened because of the Government of India Act, and we can categorize certain merits of the Government of India Act because it has ensured the franchise for the people of India. It has given the provisions of autonomy to the provinces. All the political parties were given with the opportunity to administer in the acts of the government. The parliamentary form of government was established in India and federal courts were established and the country got a constitution as a whole. So these are some of the merits which we can highlight of the Government of India Act of 1935. Along with that, we also have to look after the demerits because when the Governor General was given with an extraordinary power, it resembled a kind of dictator kind of rule in India. A particular person given with more power, a particular person given with more powers and responsibility to look after a large population and a large territory. So automatically he himself act as a dictator like Hitler or Mussolini. So that was something which we can see as a demerit of this act. Then what happened was like even though diarchy was abolished, it continued its patterns as same as it was in the previous years. And moreover, the communal influences never got diminished, whereas it got a momentum more by this act. And what happened was like the government of India still remained to be under the hands of the Britishers, and one of the most demerits which we can find with the act was the native states were given with the option not to join or to join to the federal system. So this was considered to be some of the demerits of the act. Next is Roundtable Conference. The three series of conference conducted by the British government from 1930 to 1932 to discuss about the constitutional reforms in India is known as Roundtable Conference. The first Roundtable Conference happened in the year 1930 from November to 1931 January in London. This conference discussed about granting the dominion status to India, and it had the influence of the reports like Simon Committee report, Nehru Committee report like that, and also Mr. Muhammad Ali Jinnah's recommendation to Lord Irwin, the then Viceroy of India, and James Ramsay MacDonald, the Prime Minister of Britain. The first Roundtable Conference had 58 political leaders from British India, 16 delegates from native princely states, 16 delegates from British political parties. It doesn't have any representations from Indian National Congress, as Congress boycotted this conference because the Nehru Committee report was completely avoided by the Britishers. The Britishers has the representatives from all the sections from in India, from Muslim community, Hindus, like the different political parties and all. Many issues were discussed in the first roundtable conference, from the federal structure to provincial constitution, about the needs of the minorities, provinces of Sindh and Northwest Frontier Province, and also Dr. B.R. Ambedkar's demand for separate electorate for the untouchables. So, these kinds of things were discussed in the first roundtable conference. But this conference, which lasted until 19th January 1931, was not completely a successful one. It was a failure because most of the thing which discussed in the conference was not implemented. But the most important thing which happened with the Roundtable Conference was that the Britishers understood the importance of Indian National Congress in the matters of India and deciding something about India. By understanding all the flows which has happened in the first roundtable conference, the second roundtable conference was arranged by the Britishers from September 1931 to December 1931. This second conference was given with more importance as it was participated by important personalities which included the British Prime Minister James Ramsay MacDonald, and from the Indian side the Maharajas, princes, divans of the Indian princely states were there, and moreover Mahatma Gandhi participated in the second roundtable conference as Indian National Congress was ready and accepted the second roundtable conference. So the representations from different sections of Indian society has given an important feature to the second roundtable congress. The leaders like Mahatma Gandhi, Rangasamy Iyengar, Madan Mohan Malaviya, Muhammad Ali Jinnah, Aga Khan, Muhammad Iqbal, M.R. Jayakar, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, Sarojini Naidu, like that, the list of leaders who participated in the second roundtable conference was the one which has given this conference an important characteristics. And moreover, the Britishers also took this conference as an important one because of the participation from this much important leaders. Even though there were many different kinds of participations in this conference was also considered as a failure one because the Britishers had implemented many things against the agreements of the discussions. And moreover, they decided to grant the communal awards which Mahatma Gandhi himself was against, and Dr. B.R. Ambedkar was very much stern. And this was something which was a debatable one between the both leaders, Ambedkar and Gandhi. Moreover, many political parties from India were against the dominating nature of Indian National Congress, and this also has really affected the outcomes of the second roundtable conference. After two failure attempts, the Britishers also convened the third roundtable conference from November 1932 to December 1932. This conference was only attended by 46 delegates, and what happened was like Indian National Congress was not a part of it. The Indian states got their representation from the princes and divans, and the British Indians states were represented by certain people from India also. But ultimately, the third conference was a failure, and it never came up with a kind of decisions. And most of the recommendations which was discussed was finalized or was modified as Government of India Act of 1935. The next topic is provincial and federal system. Till now we have studied about Government of India Act of 1935 as well as the roundtable conferences. So as a result of all these things, the Government of India Act was introduced by the Britishers in the year 1935. And the main highlighting thing which has happened out of this act was that the diarchy which was established by the Government of India Act 1919 was abolished. And the provincial governments in India were given with autonomous status where they enjoyed legislative, administrative and financial power. The executive government of the province will be headed by a provincial governor who will be appointed by the crown, and he enjoyed many powers. And he was not responsible to the provincial legislature and can only be removed by the crown. If you look into this position, we can relate something with the present governors of the state, but this was something which has guaranteed with more powers to the provinces at that time in 1935. By the Government of India Act of 1935, out of the 11 provinces, 6 provinces has 2 chambers and 5 has single chamber. 6 provincial legislatures comprised of 2 chambers included the areas of Madras, Bombay, Bengal, United Province, Bihar and Assam. The 5 provinces which had single chambers were Punjab, Central Provinces, Orissa, Northwest Frontier Province and Sindh. The constituencies were divided into 2 general, communal and based on the Pune Pact reservation of seats for scheduled castes and also separate communal electorates were there for Muslims, Sikhs and Anglo-Indians. The Legislative Council had 3 types of seats. First, to be filled by direct election, second by the Legislative Assembly and third by the governor's nominations. The Legislative Assembly had 5 years of time, whereas Council will be for 9 years, and in this 9 years, 1/3 retires in every 3 years. That was the pattern which they followed to fill the Council. The powers and functions of the legislature were incorporated with legislative power, which is exercised by the powers which are subjugated in the provincial list. All the powers will be derived from the British Parliament, and the governor exercises the powers which are conferred to him by the Constitution. Second powers to the provinces were the financial power, which gives them the power to levy the taxes and also to have their own revenue, and the governor will be the one who will approve all the bills. Next power is the administrative powers, which gives the legislatures in the province to enjoy limited control over the governor and to exercise into the matters of administration as given in the constitution. By this, we have reached to the conclusion of this chapter. This chapter has discussed the main important aspects of Government of India Act of 1935, which is considered to be the most important one in the history of India. It was the one which has given a shape and structure to the Indian administration. Thank you. Have a nice day.